Hello, everyone. It's Wednesday night. It's on Texas football, the live stream. My name's Ray Peters, your traditional Wednesday night host, along with CJ Vogel. We're trying to get Rod Babers on. He's had a little bit of a technical difficulty with his camera, but we're working to get that resolved. And so I know you love hearing from Roddy B. And so we're going to get that fella on here just as soon as we can. But CJ, you've been a busy man. But you were over in New Orleans not long ago watching the Sugar Bowl. Things didn't work out quite as well there. Matthew Hutchison, our producer, back at 7:08, one of our posters had a really interesting comment that I'm kind of on board with. Wayne Oldham 210 said, can we quit talking about Washington in the past and just look at the beautiful future that this program has going on? We're going to talk about Washington tonight. We have to talk about the Sugar Bowl, the semifinal because I'm sure there will be a lot of questions about that, but we will be moving forward. CJ, of course, is a recruiting analyst for us and has spent the day in San Antonio getting ready for the All-America game they have there every year. So I know that sometimes the affiliation with the Army has left and gone to a different one now. Describe the affiliation, if you want to, about what's happening in San Antonio and some of the Texas players who are ready to get going in that one in a few days.
Yeah, I know the Army, affiliation is now up in Frisco, which is its own bowl that's trying to carve its own little niche category out in the world of recruiting as well. I actually think DeAndre Robinson, the Texas signee, was involved in that one earlier in December. Mm-hmm. But this is the one down in San Antonio where, the history of the players that we've seen throughout, whether it be Bijan Robinson or Jordan Whittington, there's been big-time five-star quality names that have always come down to San Antonio and been a part of it. That's where 4 Texas Longhorn signees are currently in a practice mode right now before their game this weekend. It's quarterback Trey Owens, wide receiver Ryan Wingo, linebacker Ty Anthony Smith, and the punter Michael Kern. All of them are down there in San Antonio right now. 11 of the 23 2024 signees were either in this game down in San Antonio or the Under Armour All-American game, which kicked off and hosted their game around 3 p.m. this afternoon. So that's a pretty good number, I would say, close to 50%. I would take that number, every single year if given the opportunity.
Right. I know that you talked with the players today and got some interviews done. Would we like to go ahead and play them now? CJ, I'll let you set those up.
Yeah, no, I was able to talk to Ryan Wingo and Trey Owens after their second day of practice today, really just to get an idea of how they felt about being All-Americans. You'll see some of the questions kind of overlap, but it's a cool moment to see them kind of let loose a little bit and talk about having the All-American title for the rest of their life, because that's exciting. That's a cool honor for them. And then obviously talk about being early enrollees, playing with one another on the same field, and what they are looking forward to most as they get ready to be now a Texas Longhorn rather than a signee or a commit or even lean in the sense of what Ryan Wingo was for a lot of this past cycle. So pretty cool. Both are about 2.5 minutes long, but really cool answers for both, especially from Ryan Wingo.
So, Matthew, let's roll that tape, if we can do that.
All right, down here in San Antonio with All-American. For the rest of your life, you'll be an All-American. How exciting is that?
That's pretty cool. Have a little title. Excited.
Trey Owens, Texas quarterback signee. That's fun. You're moving down into Austin when?
January 14th.
How excited are you?
I'm excited and also nervous, obviously, leaving my family and friends. It's a big change, but I'm excited to kind of start a new life down in Austin, or up in Austin.
Now, there's 4 Texas signees down here. You're one included. Another big one is Ryan Wingo. Oh, yeah. He's on your team. You've been throwing to him for, I don't know, what is this, day 2?
2 days.
What have you seen from him that's kind of caught your attention and get you excited for y'all's time in Austin?
He's already big and fast. That's obviously a huge help, but his routes are probably some of the best out here, making dudes fall all over the place. So it's exciting. It's easy to throw to. Just throw it open here, so it's real fun.
And then in terms of being an early enrollee, there's a lot of talk about the importance of getting in the weight room, getting nutrition right, obviously practice. Is there anything that's at the top of your mind that you're most looking forward to about becoming a college football player?
Definitely lifting and getting faster, but nutrition is going to be an interesting part. I've never really thought about that. Just kind of eat whatever I want, work it out, whatever. But lifting and speed work's probably my biggest kind of change and what I need to do better. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Good deal. And then last question, What can Texas fans expect from you when you get down to Austin finally?
I'd say just my full effort, everything I do. Obviously, Quinn's most likely coming back, but I'm going to work my tail off day in and day out and just be a better person, better quarterback.
Perfect. Trey Owens, Texas quarterback signee.
Yes, sir.
So he's a good kid to talk with. You interviewed him, I know, a couple of weeks ago. We joked about when he said he was 235 pounds then, and he spent a lot of time in the pantry, not necessarily the weight room. That was a great line we talked about a couple of weeks ago. But you stood next to the guy. I think he weighed in at 238. So he's Josh Allen size. He's a really big kid. I mean, he might surprise people with the size. And he said he's worked on his running aspects so he can scramble better and break free, when those situations rise up to that level. So what did you see from him? I don't know how much of a chance you got to watch him throw the ball and things. What are your initial impressions of Trey Owens?
Yeah, I actually think Trey Owens mentioned it right on the head. What the biggest change will be for him when he gets to Austin, it'll be that weight training system, and it'll be, a true nutritional approach to his development. His body transformation will be big for him. 238 pounds at his size, you can play with that. I think that's what Malik Murphy was. But I think obviously the builds of what we saw with Malik Murphy were a little bit different than what Trey Owens is coming into college right now. That's not to say Trey won't get there. There will be a little bit of work of shifting and molding in the weight room that will require that transition. Trey was great today. I think, we're watching the clips now. He was all over the place in terms of precision, accuracy, getting the ball out quickly. He was obviously the day one MVP for the West team, as reported on by 24/7 Sports last night. So the initial start to the camp was good. Trey Owens, again, today, I saw him throwing touchdowns to Gatlin Bear, the receiver out of Idaho, who he called one of the fastest receivers he's ever thrown a football to. He had another touchdown over the middle and cover zero in the team portion, right up the seam route to a wide open wide receiver. The touch is there. And like we talked about earlier this morning on Coffee and Football with Trey Owens, it's a guy who you've seen the maneuverability in the pocket because there's not always been an elite offensive line in front of him. That might not always have been the case for a five-star guy like Quinn Ewers, who has been on good football teams, good protection in front of him. That translates to the next level. You understand where guys are in terms of their pass rush a little bit more when you're constantly under pressure in your high school career. So with Owens, he will slim down. He will kind of lose a little bit of what you might want to call that baby fat at the time. But he's a great prospect, can throw, can maneuver through the pocket, and is lighting it up right now in San Antonio.
Hey, I love saying Rod Babers on the line. Rod, can you hear us okay? You doing okay, man?
Doing good, guys. Had some technical difficulties. Can y'all hear me?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. How we doing, Rod?
We're so glad you're here, because if we didn't have you here, then Todd Lacey and Mrs. Lacey would be really upset, because they love you. I haven't seen Todd's name on the questions yet, but hopefully he'll join us tonight. I don't know if you've had a chance to check out Trey Owens, the big tall kid from the Houston area who won the the Houston award for best offensive player. It's just one of these early evaluations by Sarkisian and AJ Milwee. Nobody else seemed to be in on this guy. They saw something. So I don't know what they saw, what you've seen. When you look at Trey Owens, what do you see?
I love me some Trey Owens too. I'm in the fan club. Now we've talked to him a couple of times. So I love his competitive spirit. Sark looks for four things, he says, in a quarterback: competitiveness. He said he looks for leadership. Those are the intangibles. Physicality, in terms of the physical measurables, he looks for quick hands. I believe he said accuracy overall, right? Those are traits he's looking for that he knows he can't really coach. He wants those natural traits in a quarterback. And I will say it looks like Trey Owens checks those boxes. He's a great leader with his team. One thing that stood out to me when he said, we asked him about beating Katy because they upset Katy. And trust me, I'm from H-Town. You don't upset Katy very often. And he said that was his best win. He didn't say that was his best game. He said, I didn't have my best performance individually, statistically. He said, but as a team, it was our best win. This showed me a lot about the young man, his football character. Also, he's got some swag. and he's got confidence to spare is my definition of swagger. And he's got that. He's got a lot of it. You sit down and talk to him about 5 minutes, you go, okay, this young man believes in himself, even if nobody else does. So even before Sark and company were on that bandwagon, Trey Owens was the number one fan in Trey Owens fan club. He's got that kind of confidence in himself. And as a quarterback, you have to, because you're going to go through a lot of adversity. And there will be times, especially at the University of Texas, you want to be starting quarterback there, where you'll be doubted, where there'll be a lot of criticism towards you. Ask Quinn Ewers about it. Ask our man Chris Sims about it. Ask any of the Texas quarterbacks about it. That's just the way it is. That's the kind of position it is. And you got to have a bit of mental toughness. And the kid's got that. I love his deep ball. Sark loves the deep ball, and he's got a beautiful deep ball. His touch, I think, is part of his X-Man qualities, his X-Man ability, something he does as well, if not better than everybody else. His touch on the football is next level. Not all quarterbacks have that. I just brought up my man Sims. That's something he struggled with, right? Mm-hmm. Sims had a cannon, but oftentimes try to throw through a player at times and through a defender. This is a guy that can put the perfect amount of touch on the football right over the linebackers. Where I even asked him, has he ever let it loose on a throw? Because I said, all the film I watched seems like you just put the right amount of velo, the right amount of velocity on the ball, never too much. And he said that's something he prides himself on. And he said he does have a strong arm, and you can see it on the deep ball, but he's not necessarily always kind of abusing right that arm strength. He layers the football very well for a young quarterback. So I think that's part of his elite skill set. But he's not polished yet. He's ascending and developing. That's why he won the best offensive player in the city of Houston from the Houston Touchdown Club. And I think that Sark knows he's a raw materials, but he's got some elite traits at quarterback. And I think that's what Sark needs. That's all he needs.
Hey, talk about betting on yourself. I mean, literally coming in the class after Arch Manning, right?
Exactly. So, yes.
You know, and you would have an anticipation that Arch is going to have that job for a couple of years, which brings us to Gary's point. Gary has a comment here. Quinn Ewers next season, Arch perhaps the next 2 seasons. Where does Trey Owens fit? KJ Lacey is going to want to put his name into the barrel as well. And there are no givens here. These are jobs you have to earn. But let's just go ahead and play this out a little bit. And CJ, I'll let you start with this. Presuming Quinn Ewers does come back, then we get Arch's period of time here. And Arch would, in this scenario, actually would just need to be there 1 year as the starter if he's behind Ewers next year, because he just has to have that 3 years removed from high school. The Mannings tend to like to stick around for a while, though, which we appreciate and would love to see with Arch. But what do you think about the Trey and that line, where the Texas quarterbacks will play out over the next few seasons?
Yeah, obviously, we've talked about it. It does look like Quinn Ewers will return next year for 2024. We thought there might be an opportunity should he light, the college football playoff on fire. A departure after this season would be on the table. I would say while he did, in my eyes, I thought Quinn played well enough to win a football game. He didn't light the world on fire in any regards. I do think it is expected that he returns. As a result, there is a little bit of a delay in what we will see from Arch Manning. Obviously, it was enough for Malik Murphy to say, you know what? I've enjoyed my time in Austin. Thank you to Steve Sarkisian and Texas Longhorns, but I've got to move on and look forward to what's best for my future. I actually spoke very briefly with Trey Owens about this, and he's well aware of now the line of succession at the quarterback position. And I think that is something that, one, he committed to Texas knowing Arch Manning was going to be in the class. 2, Quinn Ewers is already there with Malik Murphy. And 3, it's all about Steve Sarkisian and his development, along with A.J. Milwee. Let's not forget he's a very good quarterback coach in his own right, that he wanted to play and study under the tutelage of the two of them. So while it might be a little bit more delayed, as we've talked about, in comparison to what it would have been without Quinn Ewers this next year, Owens is bought in. He's dedicated to being coached and really molded by these two guys in the Texas quarterback room right now. So he's all the way for it. And I'd like to see Arch Manning in 2025 light the world on fire and get ready for the next NFL. But who knows? That's a long ways from now. And we've obviously got to see just how well he'll continue to develop and continue progressing in his quarterback path.
Sure. Rod, anything that you'd like to add to the concept of how that would work out over the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, you really never know. I think the person in the chat laid it out exactly. I think ideally how you would like it to go. Quinn comes back and then Arch takes over for 2 years. Arch goes to the NFL. and then next guy in line. And I think Sark has the reputation where he could, kind of stockpile really great quarterbacks in that room who will patiently wait their turn, because as CJ mentioned, they want to learn from Sark, right? They want some of that tutelage. They want some of that, that football IQ and acumen, right? That Sark has passed down to quarterbacks. So I could see, that scenario, but man, I can't predict, and I wouldn't try to predict anything at quarterback, right? That's, Cole McCoy was recently talking on a podcast and talked about his experience at Texas competing with a 5-star quarterback and winning that job against a 5-star like Jevin Sneed, right? So anything could happen at Texas. I would say choosing a quarterback is like choosing a significant other. The person that you marry is not the hottest person you ever dated, right? They were the one that was most compatible with you. I would hope that Sark would choose the quarterback most compatible with the system and not just choose the quarterback that has, I know it's not about stars for Sark, but choose a quarterback that has the biggest profile or that has the gaudiest skill set or whatever it may be. You choose the quarterback that's going to help you win the most games. And I think he can do that with all the quarterbacks in his room, ideally.
Hey, again, it's Wednesday night. This is On Texas Football, the live stream. My name's Ray Peters alongside Rod Babers, lifetime Longhorn, and CJ Vogel, who is a man who just pays attention to the Texas football program and recruiting. We also had the Under Armour game today. I watched most of that, in fact, all of it. CJ, you were busy in San Antonio. Rod, I don't know if you got a chance to see any of that. We're happy to look at the comments from some folks here who, if you happen to see that, what your impressions were. I think Zena Umeazulu looked pretty good when he had the opportunity out on defense. He made some big hits on some players. Jarrett Gibson, the running back from IMG, late in the ball game, he carried the ball. They called it a fumble. I think that if they had instant replay, it would have been reviewed and called back and said no fumble on that play. Not much else from many of the other Texas players involved in that game. I don't know if anybody else has any comments on what happened there against CJ. I know you didn't get a chance to see it there. And, these games, they're really never great showcases for much because there's not much cohesion. And so you don't really see a lot of game planning and things like that. So you just look for some bursts of talent and things along those lines. So we're happy to see if any of these commenters want to weigh in on what they saw on the Under Armour game over in Florida today. E. Kim, he just wrote, "I can't stand these all-star games." And so I'm not too far off of your evaluation there, E. Kim. I enjoy it. The anticipation is usually a lot better than the reality when I watch these things. So that's my approach on that.
Real quick, Ray, Ekim, I know that the debate about just how important these all-star games are is always in flux, and it's fun to sit here and talk and see just how well they produce on the field. There was one guy that I was actually very happy I got to see against elite competition today, and that was Ryan Wingo. I actually got to chat with him just a little bit after practice to kind of get a little bit of a feel for the end of his recruitment, which had some fun, a little bit of a little twist here at the end, obviously with Missouri pushing at the very end of the 11th hour. But also moving forward into his career at Texas, there's going to be a lot of open opportunities his freshman year. So I chatted with him for about 3 minutes just to get an idea of how excited he is. I know Matt's got the clip coming up here in a minute, but he talked a lot about filling in the void for Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington, and A.D. Mitchell as a true freshman. Some good stuff there, as well as a little behind the scenes on his National Signing Day adventures of waking up a little bit late there.
Hey,
down here in San Antonio, 5-star All-American Ryan Wingo. What's it like being an All-American for the rest of your life now?
Nah, it's pretty cool. I'm having a lot of fun. Being able to go against some of the type of competition in the country, corners, safeties, all that. Obviously playing next to a lot of good quarterbacks, good receivers, good offensive line, good running backs, everything. So it's just pretty fun to be able to get to play against a different competition.
Talking about good quarterbacks, I actually just talked with Trey Owens. He's, a future Texas Longhorn like yourself. Mentioned how exciting it is to be down here throwing the balls to you. What have you seen from Trey that, is kind of exciting for you to also get back down to Austin and know that y'all will have that camaraderie moving forward?
He can throw it far.
Yeah.
He can throw the ball real far. and is accurate too. But like he can throw that, he can throw the field real far. But I think, like I said, I think the biggest thing that I kind of get to see from him is like he's super accurate with his passes. But then, like I said again, he can throw the ball far, and I think I'm a good vertical threat. So like that kind of connection would be pretty good for us.
And I wanted to go back to your recruitment just a little bit. In your words, how did Texas really win out for your signature at the end of the day?
I mean, I was pretty set on Texas that morning. Like I was good with Texas. Yeah. I think it was like the couple days like before that, that was like I was talking to Mizzou and stuff like that. But I think I was just staying with my commitment, staying true to it. So.
Were you really asleep?
Yeah, I was asleep. I was asleep, and then I woke up when I was playing the game. But I didn't really know that she was supposed to. I didn't know it was gonna go like that. I didn't know it was gonna be it was cool.
But I guess going down to Austin, you move in when?
The 15th or something like that.
So pretty soon.
Yeah.
How excited are you to finally be in a college weight room, nutrition program, everything along the lines of that?
No, I'm super excited. I think I'll be able to eat better, get bigger. Obviously, I'll probably look like a different person when I go back home. But it's gonna be pretty fun. Get to obviously go against better elite competition in the college level.
Yeah.
People that's 20 years old. I'm still 17, so it'll be fun.
In some instances, 24, like Michael Penix.
It'll be old people sometimes. So, like I said, it'll be fun. Get to go get some great people.
And then last one, I know Texas has a lot of targets, catches, touchdowns that are opening up at the receiver position. In your eyes, how do you see yourself fitting into that Texas offense? And do you have any goals set up for year one that you want to accomplish?
Not necessarily goals. My goal is really just to go in there and just work. I think everything else will fall in place. I guess my aspirations, I really don't have them yet. My goal is just to go up there, go work and just kind of get into the rotation, start catching passes from Quinn and stuff like that. So that's the biggest thing. Watch out, bro.
That's perfect. Well, this is Ryan Wingo down in San Antonio, All-American for forever now, and future Texas Longhorn.
Awesome. Love hearing that. Good kid, huh? You always
very fun to talk to. That was my first time seeing him in person. Great personality. You saw the smile there. He can light up a room with it. I really enjoyed talking with him, and obviously the play that we've seen on film and seeing all the highlights of coming into his senior season. He's lighting it up down there in San Antonio. He's been uncoverable, and it's been really encouraging. I've been kind of skeptical about his route running and how he'll be able to create separation against elite DBs like you've seen down in San Antonio right now. He's not been able to be covered at all, and so I think that's very encouraging. Wow. Trey Owens even mentioned the route running is fine. It's very good from Trey Owens or from Ryan Wingo.
Yeah, I love that was a great interview though, CJ. Good job.
Yeah,
thanks, y'all.
And the perspective that he has, that he didn't come off with the cocky answer like I'm going to step right in and be the man. He understands. He's watched what happened to Jonte and to Moore this year, top-rated high school players who have to wait their turn. That's the Sarkisian way. You get in there, you prove yourself, you get a few opportunities, and then maybe you'll be the man later on after you've worked your way into that rotation, because Sark certainly has that rotation. So it's nice to see he has that perspective. So a very mature kid. Love seeing.
He also say he's catching balls from Quinn, so he's talked to Quinn and knows Quinn's coming back. Wow. So right, he's like, I look forward to catching balls from Quinn. So he's assuming like the rest of us that Quinn's gonna be there, or he's already talked to Quinn and Quinn's like, oh man, I'll be there. Don't even worry about it.
Nice. That's why you need to listen to these things more closely. I'm thinking about my next question, and you were listening to the answers. Good job, buddy B. Hey, and Matthew, at 7:34 p.m., Casey and Disbanded Brotherhood both had similar concepts and some comments. So Casey and Disbanded Brotherhood at 7:34, and they're right. They get to the nuts and bolts of why these all-star games are important. They're talking about the workouts, and the drills are more important than the actual game, because you get a chance to get tested in those drills and can do it in front of the evaluators and the like. So Casey said that, and then the next comment was Disbanded Brotherhood, pretty much the exact same concept. So you guys are right on. You're nailing it. I just want to make sure everybody knows that you're welcome to send in some super chats, and I think we actually got one. Let me see where this fits in here on the conversation. Hey, I knew people would be talking about Bo Davis. Of course, he's the outstanding defensive line coach for the Longhorns. actually went to college at Louisiana State University from Louisiana. He knows that area very well, very successful coach. There are rumors out there that, well, you may have, I don't know if you heard the news or not. Brian Kelly fired half his staff today, all on the defensive side. They need a lot of defensive coaches. You can't hire anybody better than Bo Davis. He has the legacy from Baton Rouge. I don't know, CJ, Rod, have you heard anything? I don't think any news is broken on this, but the comment is this from Justin. CJ, what's your thoughts on the Bo Davis LSU rumors? Seems every year they want to hire him, which is absolutely true. Have you heard anything?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Every single year since he's been here, it's felt like somebody has wanted to come in and poach Bo Davis away. And who wouldn't, obviously? 4 defensive linemen taking the last 2 drafts after, Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy get selected this year. If Alfred Collins does depart, which it does sound like he is leaning to returning, as we've learned this morning, that would be 5. And so I think that's not many teams in the entire country that have been able to boast 5 potential draft picks in 2 years on the defensive line. It speaks a lot about his development and how coveted he is as a defensive line coach. It makes sense for LSU to be a spot to watch here. That's where he played in the college game. His first job I believe he was on the strength and conditioning staff early on in his coaching career at LSU. His first move to the field was at LSU as well. It makes sense for a possible return to Baton Rouge to be on the table for Bo Davis. But again, he is one of the best, if not the best, interior defensive line coaches in the entire country. Texas knows what they have and how valuable he is to the entire grand scheme of a Pete Kwiatkowski defense. He will be taken care of at Texas as long as that's where he wants to be. And Texas will be able to sit there and match whatever any team is offering. But this is something that, I started to hear close to the very beginning of December that LSU didn't have a defensive line coach towards the end of the year. They had a health issue with one of the coaches on staff. The position opened up. There's a vacancy there. Obviously, you start wondering who or where they're going to fill that void. With Brian Kelly firing essentially the entire defensive staff, it's going to be real interesting to see who they bring in as a defensive coordinator and how close of ties they have to Bo Davis, just to see if that's even a possibility moving forward. But to Brian Kelly's point, I mean, you kind of had to. I mean, that defense cost LSU from a college football playoff chance. They had the Heisman. They had the best offense in the entire country. It was time. Big changes had to be made, and they're going to shoot big, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Bo's a special coach, and like you said, I think that we're in the financial position to offer him what he wants. I think he already makes over $1 million. So, but Bo can pretty much name his price, perhaps at this time. When you watch Devondre's development, Murph's, those guys, I mean, he's worth it. Lane Seawright comments back as we kind of take a hop back to that quarterback conversation. And Lane, thank you very much for the super chat. It says, is it normal for Coach Sarkisian's quarterbacks to redshirt back up their first 2 years? Seemed that way at Alabama with Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, Tua. Maybe I'm wrong. So I guess, did he have Tua for 1 year there at when he first stepped into the job? I know when he was doing when he took over for Kiffin, when Kiffin took the job over in Florida, obviously I think Tua was his quarterback at that point. So he did have some association with Tagovailoa. So he does seem to, even back to his USC days, stockpile a healthy quarterback room and get those guys waiting in line until they have their opportunity. Rod, what do you think about Lane's question?
Yeah, I think Sark's reputation helps him now with that, especially in the transfer portal era. That quarterbacks are willing to stick around. I mean, we were all surprised that Malik stuck around as long as he did, and he talked about how much he enjoyed his time. But as CJ mentioned, that he wanted to learn from Sark. He wanted to, in that system, he really liked that system. It's a quarterback-friendly system, so easier to recruit quarterbacks. And Sark's going to recruit you some nice wide receivers too. So he does a lot because I think he thinks like a quarterback. So he's built and constructed the offense to make it as compatible for all those quarterbacks as possible. So he gets them to stick around. And that's these days, that's tougher than ever. I mean, blue chip quarterbacks have about a 70% transfer rate. That means if you get a blue chip on your campus, 70% chance they're going to transfer just because if they don't play, they want out. There's somewhere they can go play. And look at Texas, right? They got Quinn Ewers transfer. Malik just transferred. I mean, that's just the reality of the world that we live in now. For Sark to be able to keep even Malik long enough to stabilize the position is really a credit to Sark. So yeah, I think that's the exception and not the rule these days. But Sark seems like he's able, whether it be through kind of the special circumstances of having an Arch Manning, a celebrity quarterback there, and his family, they seem to be fine with having him wait his turn and develop as a young quarterback. That's not always the case with celebrity quarterbacks. So that's a special circumstance. And even having Malik there as long as he did was a credit to Sark. So I think it is something maybe unique to Sark. Maybe it's a few other programs around the country that can do it. Hell, but even before the transfer portal was as prolific as it is today, Texas had to deal with quarterbacks transferring before Sark even got here. It was still at Texas had a 50% transfer rate probably since like 2005 of the quarterbacks they've been recruiting. So Texas dealt with it before most schools. If you're a big-time college football program, you're going to deal with quarterback turnover and quarterback transfers. It's just a reality of it these days. Look at every great football program that we've seen. Ohio State, LSU, Michigan, everybody, Bama, everybody's got to deal with it. It's more money, more problems. You almost want the problem of having your five-star quarterbacks transfer out of your room because you're bringing in other five-star quarterbacks. It's one of those problems. Right now, Ohio State's dealing with the other side of their problem. Like, they want more of those guys in.
That Ohio State situation is just crazy to think about, that they're now in those straits. That they've got a guy wearing a Sammy Baugh jersey. He's their best chance for the future.
Oh, they'll get one. They got enough money to get one. What did Matt Rule say? Cost you about $1 or $2 million to get yourself a good quarterback via the transfer portal. They'll get one. They got the bread to do it.
Speaking of quarterbacks, and the Manning situation, that is a unicorn situation with it. He's got a family with money, so he's not going to leap at the best offer. He doesn't have to. The family clearly has demonstrated loyalty to a quarterback coach, David Cutcliffe, in the past when he was at Duke and the Ole Miss. They like to stick with somebody they know. They obviously have respect for Coach Sarkisian. It looks like Arch probably and his family feels like he's in a good situation to learn. We saw his mature interview the other day from New Orleans. The kid just sat there like a champ and handled all those microphones in his face and gave some pretty informative answers on why he picked Texas and how he feels like his future is best served by remaining a Longhorn and under Coach Sarkisian. So let's look at the conversation here that Edward Kojecki would like to start up, Matthew. He says he wants Arch to give Quinn a run for his money. So if they get into that next season, have a good quarterback battle. I know that Ewers doesn't expect he's going to come back and lose his job. He probably has an assumption that it will be his, and it probably will certainly be his to lose. And I don't think he will. But competition will just make both of these guys better, don't you think?
100%, and this is exactly what you want, especially at the quarterback position. You want that competition. You want those guys to keep pushing themselves. Ray, you mentioned Alabama as a team previously with it. Jalen Hurts, Tua, Mac Jones in there as well. Look at how successful they were under that group. Sorry, I was losing train of thought there. But look at how successful they were with those three guys on campus and how many numbers they were able to put up. Obviously, whenever you pair them with good wide receivers, which is exactly what Texas has right now, loading in their, kind of ranks, their younger classes at the moment. Those guys are talented on the wide receiver position. You want that competition because it drives people to get better in the quarterback room. If Tua Tagovailoa doesn't step in for Jalen Hurts and vice versa, there's no telling Alabama is able to win a national championship that year. So it's one of those things where you want the talent to be there, but juggling and being able to maintain that talent on the roster is another thing. And I think, like you said, it is a bit of a unicorn situation with Arch Manning. Having talked to people behind the scenes, and especially players on the team right now, there's not really a whole lot of thought at all about Arch Manning wanting to move on from Texas despite not playing this year. If he has to wait another year, that's something I've been told that he's open to doing because he likes playing for Steve Sarkisian and A.J. Millenwee, and he wants to be a Texas Longhorn. So, again, we've heard it all year this year. If he doesn't play, he's going to transfer. That's just not the case. He wants to be a Texas Longhorn. He wants to be coached by Steve Sarkisian. He committed to Texas knowing Quinn Ewers was already going to be here for a year, potentially 2. And now we're looking at a second year for Quinn Ewers while Arch is on campus, and that's, part of it. But the progressions that we see behind the scenes are encouraging. And if you can continue to push one another, day in and day out at practice, add Trey Owens into the mix as well, those quarterbacks are only going to set Texas up for a brighter future down the road. And that's all that matters as long as they're on campus wearing Longhorn jerseys.
Yeah, I totally agree. It'll be up to Quinn to keep it a competition and avoid a controversy. Right? Everybody likes a quarterback competition. Quarterback competition is great, but trust me, as somebody who's a part of one of the most controversial quarterback competitions in the history of college football, you want to avoid the controversy. The competition is great, but the competition can easily become a controversy, and all it takes for that starting quarterback to play badly or have a bad game, one bad game, hell, one bad quarter at Texas. And then you might have people in the stands saying, hey, they should put in young Arch Manning, just like they were saying, they should put in a young Chris Sims, or they should put Major back in. All right, I remember hearing those in the stands. So and Sark's smart about it. I think Sark understands that. He was a quarterback himself. He understands that, hey, you don't want this thing to become a controversy, because then you can potentially have, friction. All right, you could have friction in a locker room. You could have a locker room of guys are split. I mean, guys, hey, they think this guy gives them a better chance to win. All football players care about is who gives them the best chance to win. But you might have a differing opinion about that. This guy might say, hey, man, I think he gives us the best chance to win. Player guy over here says, hey, man, I think he gives us the best chance to win. And that's not what you want in a locker room, right? A quarterback competition is like an election. And as we know in this country, we do not want a contested election. You want the competition to decide itself, right? So that everybody, players, coaches, everybody understands that guy won the competition. He is the starter. He is our leader, period. All right. And the controversy is the opposite. It's when I'm not sure who the starting quarterback is. You know what I think you don't want that. And you could get that with Arch and Quinn if Quinn doesn't start out and play well. Right. And that's what you want to avoid. If Quinn plays well, it's all good. We don't need to worry about this. If Quinn doesn't play well, just starts out slow. I'm telling you, it can happen.
Yeah. Especially if Manning gets a few opportunities at some point and looks great. And, if Quinn starting is not looking so great, then that's when the
great point there, Ray. The injury thing, Quinn hasn't made it through an entire season yet either. Arch gets it there, has a great game or two, and then exactly. It kind of gets a mind of its own and kind of takes off, and Sark can't control the narrative. I think we just got to be careful about that. Nationally, they can say what the hell they want. We know within the community what's actually going on. Quinn's the story. They were talking about Arch Manning this year, which was just asinine. Right?
Clickbait.
Yes, exactly. But I do think there is a danger of that competition becoming a controversy if it's not handled correctly. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. You can get Wally pipped.
Oh, hey, nice reference.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take you back down memory lane again. Somebody else did mention Sims Applewhite, but Working Man at 749. I'm not sure how old Working Man is. He's probably like my age, old dude. At 749, he brings up the old Cowboys. It says Craig Morton, Roger Staubach. I think that was 1971. Hey. Man, you got to get into this century, my man. Come on. We got more recent examples, but I like
Roger the Dodger. Roger the Dodger, baby.
Roger the Dodger. Hey, man, Craig Morton out of the University of California had a strong arm. You never knew where the ball was going. I liked old Craig. And, But Staubach came in and did his thing there. So again, we appreciate you with your comments. We always have a fun here on Wednesday nights. It's on Texas football. My name's Ray Peters. I'm an old sportscaster from a long time ago, and I helped out with Fox Sports, been a sideline producer on the network as well. Gus Johnson's one of my good buddies. He hooked me up with that. So I love talking college football, and I'm a University of Texas graduate and love my Longhorns. Rod Babers, lifetime Longhorn as well, graduated on the 40. CJ, we're all Longhorns here. CJ, yes, you're a University of Texas graduate as well. So we're all people who bleed, burn orange. There's his diploma right there. Now, it's just the focal length is making it look like it's the world's tiniest diploma, but I'm sure it's full-sized.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Of course. It's on an angle.
Because your big brain is making it look small just in comparison to all that. But We really appreciate you joining us here. We love the Longhorns. Hey, man, do I need to bring up what happened Monday night? I mean, that game, we should do a little bit on that. CJ's got that look like I've talked about it enough. Penix was just ridiculous, don't you think? I mean, that guy, you couldn't have walked downfield 45 yards and stuck it in his receiver's gut any better than that guy was throwing the ball. So we had decent coverage on many occasions. He was just on fire. So Sandman says, flush it. Let's just talk about it for a few seconds here, and then we'll flush this sucker and not talk about this again. QWERTY just typed in, if Sark had Penix, do we go 15-0? I don't know. Yep. That's pretty hard doing that, but that dude was money. So if he played like he did Monday night, we would go 15-0. I'll tell you that much. So Rod, I don't know. What'd you see Monday night? Let's want to kind of put a cap on this sucker for us.
Well, I mean, Michael Penix, I think we did his skill set and his achievement. I think we did it justice in our previews. I mean, we talked about how good the guy was and how tough he was to sack. And you saw that, right? Sack avoidance is one of his elite qualities. It's not just his O-line that's really good. He's really good at avoiding the sacks. We saw that when Byron Murphy had a great, move at the line of scrimmage, was able to get past two different blockers and had a shot on him. And Penix just ever so discreetly, smoothly, right? In a very just kind of savvy fashion, he just takes a couple steps to the left and avoids it, boom, and delivers a pass on the money. He did it to Ethan Burke. Ethan Burke was unblocked at one time, actually, on that touchdown pass where he got popped up in the air, and Malik Muhammad actually got a nice little hand on it, got popped in the air. Ethan Burke was untouched. I'm sure Ethan Burke was just salivating, licking his chops, thinking, I am about to get a sack, and I'm about to tee off on this dude. And he didn't. He missed him. He whiffed him. It was just two steps up in the pocket for Michael Penix. And the beautiful thing about Michael Penix is, this is different from Quinn. This is why Quinn's coming back. Quinn sees pressure, looks at it actually sometimes. Penix feels it, feels that pressure. He's looking downfield. He feels that pressure. There are times when Quinn feels the pressure, but I also see times when Quinn's looking right at it. And instead of being able to make that, Quinn's looking at the pressure. And then I think it makes him a little bit erratic. Penix, and he's savvy enough to be able to avoid it and athletic enough to be able to avoid it. That's one of his X-Men abilities. He's also got a cannon of an arm. You saw that. He can make every throw on the football field. And now he make every throw with pinpoint accuracy on the money. I'm talking about NFL throws on the money. I saw a stat from an insider of the I believe it was Seattle Sports, and I miss his name right now, so I apologize for that. I'll get it in a second. But his stat was that Penix targeted his wide receivers 20 times, I believe the stat was, and they had 19 receptions between his top four targets. So one incompletion targeting his top four wide receivers. That is amazing. And his top three wide receivers, as CJ talks about, they're NFL guys. And the thing about this team that I thought was interesting, CJ, is that all their best players, all the guys we describe as their dogs and their dudes, they all played some of their best games of their careers in the biggest game of their careers. Penix, Braylon Trice, Romeo Dunze, all first-round picks, and all showed up big.
You want to know the weirdest thing? We didn't play our best game, nowhere near it, and we're on the 12-yard line and could have won the damn thing.
Yep, it was so bizarre.
Yeah,
I mean, when it was, with a minute and a half, you knew this thing was lost, right? And then suddenly we're on their 12-yard line. So that was just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Are we really going to pull this off? We didn't. But that was in that we had come back and got that fortunate, to be honest with you, and had an opportunity there, realistic opportunity with 4 shots from the 12 or whatever it was. That was just ridiculous to think that ended that way. But, that's what it was. And somebody's commenting on the Joe Moore level offensive line. That's what Washington had. I mean, they, like you said, Penix was feeling the pressure. Combine that with good offensive linemen, you got a situation where the guy doesn't get sacked. Yeah, we were right there, though. I mean,
it's the best offense in college football, guys. That's the best offense in college football. Best O-line, Hell, if you can argue best quarterback, he's second best quarterback in the country. If you want to say Jaden Daniels is the best off wide receiving core in the country, 3 NFL wide receivers among that group. I mean, if you want to say Dylan Johnson's a weakness, you can. He's a 1,000-yard back. Tight ends are actually pretty strong too. It's the best offense. That's why the national title will be interesting. It's the best offense in the country versus arguably the best defense in the country. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Hey, CJ. Hey, we're done with Washington talk. How about that? Let's get some. Do we have little icons on the chat where people are clapping their hands? Get that. We addressed it.
Well, you have to reflect on it though, because it does actually, in my opinion, it gives you a really good glimpse into Texas roster construction. First of all, think about it. Texas is ahead of schedule. I know everybody's heartbroken. They're ahead of schedule, guys. Most of us had them winning the Big 12, which they did, but not going to the college football playoff. So you got to give them a lot of credit for that achievement. But they're ahead of schedule. What does that mean? That means they weren't done constructing the roster totally. So what were their biggest areas of vulnerability? On defense in the secondary. What are they recruiting right now in this recruiting class the most? The secondary. 5 guys in the recruiting class, right, CJ? And they bring it in Makuba in the transfer portal. They knew before they got into the damn game. The coach, I thought they knew it was a bad matchup. Like, this is not a good matchup for us. We're not done constructing the roster. Damn it. We've been in a better position when we got our true cover guys back there. So they weren't done constructing the roster. Sark wanted to construct the offense first in roster construction. We saw that. Big humans. He got his quarterback, brought in Xavier Worthy with him. He chose JT Sanders for offense, not defense. He was quick to construct his offense. He's an offensive guy and the head coach. He gets that, he gets that freedom, that flexibility. And I guarantee he told PK, we'll get to you, man. We'll get to you in the last 2 acquisition cycles, man. We're going to get to that defense. And they have been, right? You've been getting to Anthony Hill on the defense. You got your Malik Muhammad on there, young bug. You got Derek Williams. They're all young now, but these are the guys that they're starting to recruit to build the defense in what PK wants, right? In the style of defense he wants to play. Where else did Texas fail in this game? Pass rush. Because they're not done constructing the pass rush. That's why they got a Colin Simmons. They're getting Trey Moore in the transfer portal. They know. They're like, man, where we actually are weakest right now is pass defense because we don't have coverage specialists, and we're weakest in pass rush because we haven't recruited our pass rush specialists. And Wes Robbie been telling you forever, there are certain things you cannot coach. You can't develop. I don't give a damn how good you think you are as a coach. Mm-hmm. You can't coach coverage. You can't coach pass rush and technique. You got to recruit it. It's naturally ingrained. Some guys have it naturally. Some guys, it's programmed early in their football development. Either way, by the time they get to college, it's too late. You need to recruit those guys who do that naturally out of high school. They're doing that now. Trey Moore is one of those. Colin Simmons is one of those. The natural cover guys. Sark said at the press conference, the introductory press conference for the recruiting class, he said they all cover guys, all of them. All of them. They all got versatility. Even though Kobe Black don't want to play all 3 positions, Sark said, what? He's a 3-position guy. He can play all of them. He said versatility with almost every description of all those DBs. Versatility. So we know how they're building the defense, right? Natural coverage specialists, pass rush specialists with versatility in the back end and speed, because they don't have speed now. And we saw that also exacerbated in the matchup versus Washington. Guys, It's okay to talk about the matchup, to watch the game again, because you have to understand that they're ahead of schedule. And then you can go back retroactively and look at the roster construction. So, guys, sometimes you got to examine the heartbreak to understand why the relationship went wrong and why it went right. That's going to help you improve as a person. Don't be afraid of it. Texas is ahead of schedule now. I rewatched that game the 3rd time with joy in my heart because I know they're ahead of schedule. And as Ray mentioned, they had no business being in that game, but the football character and culture of this team wouldn't allow them to get beat that bad on that big stage. They still showed up and showed heart. They just couldn't finish it. And I know why they couldn't finish it, because there are serious holes in the roster, but they are being addressed. It's okay to tell the truth. People are afraid of it and don't want to talk about it. That's all I do. Even when it goes wrong, it's going wrong for me several times in this business, but I will continue to do it because you guys deserve it.
There you go. So I should not have spent all day yesterday in the bedroom with the lights off and the blanket over my head.
No, rejoice, Longhorn Nation. Yeah, rejoice, baby. You're ahead of schedule.
I'm with
rejoice,
you. No,
man. This is a great thing.
What I say? I love my Longhorns. No, I'm very encouraged by the future. We got the right coaches.
Yeah, you do.
In the job, right?
You got the right guy. You got the right guy. Yeah, now we know Sark's the right guy too. Amen to that. You know,
Yeah.
and does he still have some steps, to go in developing, becoming an all-time great coach? Yes, but we knew he wasn't a finished project when they brought him in, right? They brought him in with the expectation that when you combine Sark's skill set and his football acumen and football IQ and offensive brilliance with the resources of Texas, with the NIL weaponization, right, of TexasOneFund.org and all that they would put the BBs back in the box. And they're not all there, but damn, there's like one or two BBs outside that box, guys. Most of them are back in there. And when that happens, Texas football will truly be back. But it's, like I said, I'm ecstatic. I think they're ahead of schedule, and I think that Longhorn fans should be ecstatic. They should be, even I know the heartbreak of it, but y'all should be ecstatic, man, because this program is on the right track, and they're addressing every serious issue they have in the recruiting class and acquisitions coming up.
You've
Absolutely.
said before you know that Sark wants to have that DeBoer offense because he wants to have those receivers and that guy that can move along. Were you not screaming at your TV though Monday night? Run the damn ball, because that's what Ray was doing. Because I'm seeing C.J. Baxter and Blue gash him for 8-12 yards, and then we refuse to just keep doing that. And I want to keep doing that until they stop it. And that's not what happened. So
no.
I'm happy about the future and the direction of things, but sometimes we need to look at what we're doing, throw out the 40-play script, and go with what's working.
Amen to that. Amen, Ray. Amen to that. Nope.
Where's Chris Ludacris? Where's my Chris Ludacris Bridges? Yeah. So
I agree, brother. No, you're right. There you go.
That's what I was doing Monday night. So Tuesday night was the night with the blanket over the head, the day of the blanket over the head. Monday night was run the damn ball night. But no, it's fun. No. I Cotton, you should complain. Listen, I am critical, and I complain about it too. I've done and I will still complain, just like Ray just did. I got notes here that I can go to about Sark in that second quarter and the play calling and all of that, and him not using the pony package more. Come on, you want to complain about it? I got plenty to complain about, but I do want to have perspective on it before we get deep into the criticism and talk about what should have been done. And there are lots of should have beens, but we can still every now and then take a break, take a breath, and go, damn, that was a good season. That was a great season. It was a great season. Absolutely. Gotcha. CJ, I don't know if you've seen some of these comments about recruiting, and I don't know if you know these names, but I'm going to throw them at you. Matthew has put them in the depository for questions. I'm going to throw out the name Ethan Utley. Are you familiar with that youngster? So, CJ, you've been able to check out defensive lineman Ethan Utley. And then we also have a question about defensive tackle Dylan Battle from EChem. EChem's a frequent flyer on this. So do you have any information about those youngsters or any others that you'd like to throw at us in terms of recruiting?
Yeah, Utley right now is right outside the top 100 for the national recruiting consensus rankings. Defensive line about 6'4", 275, big boy. I think you can kind of liken him to, let's see, I don't want to say Melvin Hills. I think he's a little bigger and quicker than Melvin Hills, but a guy on the interior that can play that 3-tech spot, not necessarily a nose guy, but certainly the big enough body for him to be really productive. He's quick off the line of scrimmage. He actually dropped the top 5 not too long ago involving, I got it right here, Syracuse, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas, and I think Michigan is the 5th one. Sorry, I had to pull it up again. But those are the top 5 right there. Look for him to actually be a name to show up January 20th for the Texas Junior Day. If he's able to get on campus, things will really start progressing there as well. And so I'm eager to see if Texas really pushes hard there. And then Dylan Battle is actually a guy who's not necessarily big on the recruiting scale at the moment. I actually don't know if he has a lot of stars or rankings or anything to that matter as a matter of fact, but he is out of Mansfield, Timberview, which is where Texas has been active in the past. There's been some recruitments that have come down to Texas and a few others in the years, dating back to, I believe, Catalan and David Abiara, even, dating way back, if you will. But that's a guy Texas will have to get on campus and evaluate fully before diving full on as a result. But Battle is 315. He's a bigger guy. He's a nose. He's a true nose compared to Utley, who's more of a 3-tech. But Texas is active, and as long as Bo Davis is recruiting for the Longhorns, you can guarantee these guys will be recruiting the best of the best right now on the interior defensive line.
We also have a question about Kern, the punter. You were there in San Antonio. Did you happen to see if he looked okay today?
Yeah, funny enough, during the scrimmage portion, Texas had Trey Owens and Ryan Wingo on the same team in the same unit, and then going opposite of them was Ty Anthony Smith. So whenever they were not on the field, I was on the other side watching the three punters and kickers kind of just take hacks at the ball down the field. I was probably the only guy down there getting a look at what the punters had to do. Here it is. Thanks, Matt, for pulling that up. But this is a little inside the 20 work from the 50-yard line. I mean, that looks as good as you can get right there from the 45, dropping it right down to the 2-yard line. Kern's got a lively leg, can really boot the ball. You can't see it there. I did a bad job of filming it, but this is at Jerry World. That thing probably hits the bottom of the scoreboard. So we've talked about how important the punting aspect and facet of the game is for Texas on both sides, punt block and punting the football. The gunners have been big, Keaton Crawford, Keelan Robinson this year, but Ryan Sanborn above everything. The addition that he has had to this Texas team has been, one of the unsung heroes for this Texas team. I think, right now Michael Kern is a guy you can really count on being a true weapon whenever he gets to campus. It never hurts adding an All-American punter.
Right. Punting is clearly an important piece to the puzzle. We saw that, as you said, with Sanborn. We saw us not do such a great job at the beginning of the prior year. There's the Ohio State punter who jumped into the portal. Have you heard anything about any interest in him or anybody else? Are there any notions out there about perhaps getting a guy in the portal to fill that punter role until Kern is ready, if he's not ready already?
It's been a topic of conversation. I know that Texas has been monitoring what kind of specialists have entered the portal. Obviously, like you said, Ray, it's a very important position, and entrusting that into a true freshman is a bit of a rolling of the dice that not necessarily you want to do, especially entering the SEC. That's a weakness in the SEC that will get picked apart if you don't have guys up to speed with the game. I'm not sure if Texas will be pursuant in a portal punter. This is, again, one of those spots where I think it has to be the perfect fit, and you start thinking, well, it's a punter. How much does that vary? But Texas and Ryan Sanborn was a perfect match. He had 4 years of experience, was an all Pac-12 punter. If that's not the kind of guy that they see fit entering the portal, I think they're going to roll out Kern again for the first time as a true freshman. We'll see, just exactly what kind of guys enter their name tonight and into tomorrow as the deadline is come and gone, and also in the spring window as well.
And Christopher at 813 commented the Ohio State punter committed to Vanderbilt. I had not seen that. I followed the transfer portal pretty closely, so I apologize if that indeed is the case and we didn't get that guy, or even if we pursued him. The name of Jordan Whittington's popping up a lot in the chat. I love that kid. I think he's been a great Longhorn for a long time. He was a very highly rated recruit out of Cuero, was a running back, all-purpose guy, one of those jack of all trades, as the Gobblers won a state championship a few years ago. He's been really a great guy, a glue guy in the locker room, and he was one of these guys that made the transition easier for Coach Sarkisian. Rod, when you look at Jordan Whittington, what do you think about when you see the former number 4, now number 13? Or maybe I got those backwards. Go ahead. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, you changed numbers a lot. I know that. I think Jordan Whittington really showed you really kind of the triumph, kind of the human spirit kind of thing, because I thought, and he even one time admitted he wanted to give up on football, right? He wanted to quit after a lot of injuries. I know a lot of guys who end up going through depression after injury, especially multiple injuries like that. You lose your identity because your identity is linked to your athleticism and playing football a lot of the time. And Sark even said he had to talk him back into it. Like, nah, man, you can't quit. Like, right? We need you, right? You're a necessary piece here because you're a culture guy, and your story is almost a walking testimony in this locker room, right? About perseverance. And he even admitted that he had to start changing up his habits. And what is culture? Culture is just your habits, your daily habits. And if your daily habits, man, right? It starts says how you do anything is how you do everything, right? You attack and approach every task that day with the same attitude, and with the same vigor, and that's what culture is. And if you can do that habitually every day, that's how you establish culture. And Jay Witt admitted he had to start doing that. He wasn't going into the training room early. He wasn't getting there early to warm up because he was trying to do what everybody else was doing. Well, your body ain't like everybody else's body. He learned that. He's like, yeah, you know what? I'm not. I got to stay late and go stay out in the training room an extra hour when everybody else get to go hang out, take showers, and go home. I got to do that later. All right, I got to change the way I eat. I can't eat like everybody eat. I can't eat barbecue and wings every day like my teammates. I got to watch what I eat because it affects my physiology. I'm like, he learned these things. These are lessons he had to learn the hard way, the real hard way. He even talked about how he had to get into more flexibility. His brother is like a bodybuilder or something.
He's from a family of bodybuilders, so he always thought he had to be the most muscled guy. And that's not what he needed to be.
Yeah, when he came in, he was swollen, cut up, but almost it hurt him. It restricted his flexibility, and I think it actually ended up hurting him. And I think it added to the injury risk for him because he didn't have enough flexibility, and he would be a little too tight. He was wound up too tight, and then I think he had to learn that too. So he said he got into stretching a lot more and got into lifting, but more about conditioning and lifting lower weight levels, but then doing more reps. He talked about all this kind of stuff and how he changed his entire lifestyle just so he could be the best player possible. Guys, this is what it's all about. Every player's individual journey to be the best they can be, to be the best version of themselves. And if all 80-some guys ain't on that journey, scratching and clawing every day, sacrificing, committed every day, when nobody's watching, nobody cares. Jay, we got to get up early in the morning, go walk to the training room by himself, get there, sit there, do everything he's got to do an hour and a half before everybody gets there, just so he can be ready for practice and stay late and do all that. Right? Got to change up the way you eat, your lifestyle, also that he could go out there and get with the 2 targets he gets a game, whatever it is, right? And go block his ass off, right, for his teammates. That's it. That's it, guys. That's the testimony that you need in your locker. You need guys to see that. And then see that, well, Jay Witt ain't making it about him. Jay Witt ain't mad. Hell, A.D. Mitchell get mad when he ain't getting the ball. A.D. Mitchell start talking. So, yeah. And ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey, I like receivers. They want the ball. But Jay Witt don't do that. That Jay Witt all about the team. Yeah. Jay Witt probably should be complaining about getting the ball because he's getting man-to-man coverage all the time. He don't. He just went and then make crucial plays and critical moments like he did in that game. That guy, him and Rojo, those types of guys, you cannot quantify their effect on the culture. There's a domino effect, a butterfly effect of that all throughout the locker room and then throughout the administration when guys like that are walking around. And it makes other people want to take their game to the next level. You look at Jay Witt and Rojo and go, man, I'm not putting in enough work. Am I dedicated enough? You question your own dedication and commitment. That's it, guys. You need more Jay Witts, more Rojos. That's it. Jay Witt is Texas fight. He's right. He is. Yeah. He epitomizes it, guys. That's why that Jay Witt story is powerful. It's powerful, man.
Yeah. One of my favorite Longhorns.
I was so happy for Jordan whenever he had that big catch at the end of the game. And, Rod, I'm right there with you. Everything that you said about the selflessness that he has in his game of, I know I'm not going to be the most targeted guy, granted, even when he was against Oklahoma, I think he went for 10 and 116. But for him to go out and be as willing as he is for his other guys is a testament to the football player that he is and the approach that he has to the game. That play that he made to get Texas down into right around the red zone will go down as one of the best, most forgotten plays in Texas history because it didn't pan out. I liken it to the North Carolina shot against Villanova when Villanova eventually went back down the court and scored the game-winning basket late in that game. And also the Jermaine Kearse catch in the 2015 Super Bowl. the bobble against the Patriots. They get down into the red zone, and then what happened 2 plays later? Malcolm Butler comes up with one of the greatest plays in Super Bowl history. But it's plays like that that lead you to the greatest, highs of moments and the lowest lows of moments. And so, unfortunately for Jay Witt, that play isn't remembered for what it was, because that was arguably the best play of his career, and he's had a number of them.
Yeah.
So I have to think, it would have been tremendous had he been, the hero to get Texas to a national championship game. For him, for what he's meant to the university, like you said, there's not been many Longhorns that have come through the hallways of Moncrief in the last, decade plus that have encapsulated what it meant to be a Longhorn more than what Jordan Whittington has done. Like you said, Roschon's in that conversation.
Yeah.
I'd put Bijan in there as well. But Jordan Whittington above, almost anybody else is right there for what it's meant to be a Texas Longhorn.
And I love that he has a special relationship with Bevo.
Yeah,
how cool. The Bevo folks, I know, man, Ricky Brennan, who also does great work with the Silver Spurs. They tell me that that's not a show. Yeah. That anytime Jay Witt has a chance to hang out with Bevo or get some time with Bevo, just him and Bevo, he wants it. So, I mean, what epitomizes a Longhorn more than the guy who actually wants to hang out with Bevo and have a little bromance with Bevo? Remember the last time? Didn't he score and they go over to Bevo? I mean, Jay Witt.
Last year.
There's certain guys. Listen, I always say this, and I think he epitomizes more than anybody. There are 2 types of players that play football at Texas: the guys that come to play for Texas and the guys that come to play at Texas. He came to play for Texas, and the guys that come to play for Texas, they want to know how they can leave it better than they found it. What can they do for the university? What can I do for the football program? The guys that come to play at Texas, they want to know what Texas can do for them. And you know what? You can go from being one to the other, but you won't be a championship team until you got more guys in that locker room that want to play for Texas. And by the way, I think they are close to that.
Yeah. Great perspective. And I felt pretty good when I was watching the end of that game that my X Factor picks on the live stream last week were Jordan Whittington and Jaden Blue. So I was looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Matt, let's wrap this one up tonight with Matthew titled the live stream Most Exciting 2024 Commit. So let's go ahead and make sure that we satisfy what the folks seeing the title on YouTube will expect to see in the conversation, right? So CJ, you're the guy that handles recruiting for us. Give me a 2024 commit you think might be the most exciting addition to the Texas Longhorn football team.
Yeah, I'll admit I was probably a little lower on this prospect than most were. Considering the rating, I think I was probably on the more, I wouldn't say skeptical, but hesitant. But it's after seeing him today, it's absolutely Ryan Wingo. Like I said earlier, he was open the entire day in one-on-ones in the team setting. Very rarely was there ever a guy that was able to maintain coverage that we've talked about, as important as speed is on the field and DBs staying close to receivers. Ryan Wingo was running away from just about everybody today. He has great size, great hands, loves playing the game of football, and is, like you said earlier, Ray, the biggest thing from that little interview that we had was his humbleness and humility of just coming out and saying, yeah, I'm ready to get to work. The 5 stars don't mean nothing. I'm ready to get down to Austin and see what it's like to be a Texas Longhorn and get to work to get better and get on the field. Texas is going to have a lot of opportunities available in 2024 for him to get on the field. What he's able to do early in the spring and in this offseason weight program is going to be instrumental to seeing just how ready he will be for week 1 next fall. But Ryan Wingo, to me, was probably the biggest winner of this All-American weekend that I've been able to see so far.
Nice.
Rod, who do you got?
Well, I mean, I'll piggyback on my man CJ. I've watched Ryan Wingo a lot, actually, and just watched film. I didn't watch him obviously this weekend. I didn't get a chance to, but I watched a lot of film on him. A guy can make you miss in a phone booth. I think his ability to run after the catch with the football, I think, was going to surprise some people with that kind of size. He's got great burst. He's got natural athleticism, and from what I understand, he has been working with a wide receiving coach lately in his off time to try to learn some of those nuances and sharpen up
Am I frozen or is that Rod just frozen?
I think we
TJ,
just
are
lost
you there?
Rod.
We lost Rod. Well, we like that we got the comment from Rod there towards the end. We're wrapping this thing up. I'm going to say, and my man stole my answer here. Cotton. I think he had Cruz. There's Rod. Hey, buddy, we lost you right at the end of your comments. So I think you were saying you liked Wingo, though, right?
I do. I like Wingo. He's legit, man.
Yep.
There you go. And I'm about to say Daniel Cruz, just because there's Cotton at 824. We already put the comment up. Just because that he's going to pancake some fools. So he's he's got an edge. So that's going to be like kind of a fun thing to see from the center position with him. So, hey, thanks, everybody. We appreciate you logging in. We started a little bit late tonight, so we're running a little bit late on the evening here, but we had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for the comments. As always, we're very grateful for that. And, things didn't work out for us Monday night, but as Rod put it pretty plainly there, the future looks bright. We're doing well. As CJ has pointed out, recruiting looks terrific. We'll be following portal entries, exits over the coming days, weeks. Be sure to tune in to Coffee and Football in the Morning, see the latest information, the intelligence that you can gather from Bobby Burton. CJ, you'll be there. You'll be up and early, bright and early, drinking some coffee and putting your 2 cents in there. We're very grateful for you coming along and joining us here for On Texas Football, and we're always appreciative of that. So we'll see you here next time, the Wednesday night group, and also, again, as I said, Coffee and Football in the Morning. I'm Ray Peters for Rod Babers and CJ Vogel. Thank you so much, and as always, hook 'em.